Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, genders of all ages, welcome to episode 3 of Alive on 1, the Transformers.cards podcast. I'm your host, the God King Lord Zero, and as usual, I have Hawkhammer here with me.
That genders of all ages bit will never not be funny. But hello, I am still allowed on this show for some reason. The FCC hasn't come after me yet. But anyways, if this is your first time here, this is our monthly podcast talking about what's going on in the community, what's happening behind the scenes, what I'm complaining about this month, etc., etc. It's a good time. People mock me. It's fun.
Today is a shorter episode, but we're going to talk about Season 3 of our tournaments, starting with the upcoming Encounter 1, and then we're diving into the new structure for the Omega Invitational this season. To do so, we have Ozzy here with us. He's one of our top players and designers, and has really helped me nail down the new OI structure. How you doing, Ozzy?
G'day from Australia. I'm doing all right.
Yeah, so if his words sound upside down, now you know why. Okay, we've got the obligatory Australia upside down joke out of the way, so let's start talking about, are we talking about the OI, or are we talking about the event? What are we doing?
Well, we're going to start out with the first encounter. Season 3, Encounter 1, Odd Squad. Let's first mention that when this episode goes live, there will still be 2 days left to sign up. To be specific, you can sign up until October 3rd at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. So, if you're listening to this, don't hesitate to go sign up.
Yes, please do. Come kick our asses!
Yeah. So what are you two expecting to see this coming season?
Penguin's probably gonna be on a heater about Metroplex, based on the way he's been talking. Naga's probably gonna be on some. Actually, no, wait. So I immediately retract that statement because Naga has been on just an absolute, like, an elongated rant about Crash Bash for like the past 2 months, and I was about to say he's gonna be running this event, but yes, slight problem with that. Zero, would you like to explain why Crash Bash will not be showing up?
As the event title suggests, Odd Squad only allows odd number waves, and Crash Bash is from Wave 6.
So, yeah, only waves 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 are allowed, plus all of their subsets. So Metroplex is allowed, the promos from Wave 1 are allowed, Blaster vs. Soundwave is allowed, and both Scorponok and the recently released Bruticus are allowed. Additionally, the 3-star replacement for Sky Shadow Sync, Summon Sky Shadow, is going to be available as well, because, well, it replaces a Wave 5 card, so might as well let it in, you know?
Yeah, it's not really in a set yet either.
Yeah, so no Crash Bash, none of that nonsense, so Naga's probably crying in the corner right now, but he deserves it.
Even though you mentioned Omega, his strat won't be available.
Did I mention Omega?
I'm sorry, I meant to say Metroplex.
Oh yeah, his strat won't be available, so
Also, Metroplex. So Metroplex loses Backup Beam and Escape Route, which are the 2 best cards in that deck. So
oh yeah.
So
we're just kind of, loosely transitioning into the limitations thing. So yeah, Metroplex is kind of the big thing on everyone's radar right now, with Brett having won the OI with it, and Ozzy, of course, being Ozzy and just playing Metroplex up the wazoo. But again, he loses Backup Beam, he loses the strat. What else is he losing? I'm trying to think here.
Escape Route and Kinetic Whip, yeah.
Yeah, so again, if you haven't seen Metroplex in action before, those are like, well, the 3 battle cards are like the cornerstones of that deck, aside from maybe copies of Rollout that are floating around. And then the City's Finest Views is just freaking nutty, as we have learned recently. So losing all of those tools, like, where does that shape up Metroplex overall in the grand scheme of things?
It kind of looks like the Wave 1 starter deck after that.
Yeah, I don't think he's viable, but that doesn't mean I still think so. I might try.
Yeah. And I'm just going to say this now. Assume everything we are saying in this segment is a hot take, because there's been a couple of instances where people are like, oh, you guys are the devs and you're playing in the tournaments, you must know the meta. No, we freaking don't. We have no idea what's going on. So,
and just to give a little bit of inside baseball, no one else on the team can see what decks people have selected to use. Exactly. So it's not like they have any kind of secret knowledge.
Exactly. Yeah. Only whoever is running the tournament, it's usually Zero and Techno. Techno isn't playing, and then Z just doesn't care.
Yeah, it's kind of a side effect of being the site's developer.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so continuing down the chain, one deck that probably isn't going to be hit a whole lot, though it definitely loses some fun tech options. And of course, I would be the one to bring this up. Double primes. You still got Optimus. You still got Nemesis. One of the things you do lose though is Lord Megs in the sideboard. For those of you who don't know, during the OI, I did that as my sideboard character, as basically an idea that sprung from a joke that Naga was making, and it ended up actually being pretty decent. So admittedly, the deck loses its like best sideboard option, but I'm sure I can find something, or I'll just get Naga to go on a rant and I'll see what I can pluck from there.
Yeah, I think we might actually see Bruticus turn up, because without Espionage and Cornered, a combiner deck would be quite good, and that's probably the only one you can play with
Yeah,
all
'cause,
the even numbers
At
excluded.
least in terms of the Enigma combiners, like you said, because all the Wave 2-1s are banned. Abominus is in Wave 8, so he's out. Yeah, Bruticus is like the only one. And I think we talked about this last time, but Bruticus is like essentially a Decepticon version of Superion, and he already has some pretty decent tools available. Admittedly, Bruticus does lose stuff like Heavy Duty Plasma Blaster and the like, but Bruticus still has the basic game plan that Superion does, so in this format, he should do decent, especially, again, like you said, the lack of competition. I'm trying to think, what else has taken a significant hit? The Pounce deck loses its Gator options, which is somewhat problematic, but then again, you just bring in Motormaster in place of, like, Oronic or someone like that, and problem solved.
I think we might see a lot of Wave 1 type decks, like Cars, Bugs, Dinobots.
Oh, oh God, I forgot about Bugs. Well, I think we all know what Wheeljank's playing. Be sure to pack your in hostilities, folks.
Yeah, because a lot of those decks showed up in Wave 1, and they've changed a few cards here and there, but you could basically run a Wave 1 deck and still have a really strong deck.
Probably. I'm trying to think what else. So you said Cars, you said Bugs. Dinos might show up because Paddles is legal since he is a Wave 9 card, technically speaking.
Yeah.
He was a promo, but...
And they'd lose one of the double oranges, but there's still a lot of really good Dino cards.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm trying to think, like... And also, just generally speaking, there's just a lot of good aggro cards. I mean... No, Beast Mode doesn't work with them. I'm trying to think. Vampark's still floating around for weird situations involving Paddles. Out of Wave 7, Rage they have. There's still some good aggro cards floating around, even if you lose that double orange. Although, if Penguin's listening to this, he's probably thinking you don't need the second double orange. It does nothing. Which, for context, after the OI, Penguin was on a bit of a thought train about whether the double icons are worth it or not.
I know in my double primes list I played in one of the events last season, I didn't have any doubles in it.
Really?
Having something to be able to be played in your hand rather than like, I need to throw this away to a green was quite good.
Did you ever play that deck at all with the double icons, out of curiosity?
I'm not sure. I don't think I have.
Now you've got me wondering if I should start messing around with my double prime deck and give it more of a toolbox element rather than having that extra defense. I'll have to look into that at some point. See, folks, I can learn things on here. What else potentially could float around?
2 decks of my own that get hit hard by this. Scorponok loses Shoulder Holster.
Oh, yeah.
And also, my White Mirage deck loses both Fireflight and Vanguard, not to mention Involuntary Promotion, which the whole deck centers around.
If this was any more proof you needed that we have no idea what's going to happen, there you go. So... It's an even playing field for everybody, so sign up and join us. Come kick our rear ends.
Yeah, like, remember, just because we're devs, not all of us are good.
The other one we haven't mentioned is Sky Shadow. I'm sure that'll turn up as well.
Hey,
Oh, yeah.
Let's not talk about Sky Shadow, right? Just forget anyone mentioned him. No one here is a Sky Shadow fan.
Zero's playing Sky Shadow this event. Zero's playing Sky Shadow this event.
That's just silly. You're silly. Why are you saying silly things?
Why else would you be trying to silence him on this? You
Look,
absolute
I've never
gremlin.
once described him as my favorite card in the game. That's just silly.
Okay, is that enough chaos for this episode? So yeah, again, sign up ends Thursday. 2 days roughly.
Yes. Sign-ups end October 3rd. All players are welcome, regardless of skill level. We always love it when new players join.
We do want to see more people in the event because more people is more fun, and more fun is more deck ideas, and more deck ideas equals more meta. So yeah, that's the first event of the season, which of course is the start of the road to the Omega Invitational. Like we mentioned off the top, there are some big changes coming.
Yeah, so after the last OI ended, I spent a while really kind of trying to rethink our approach to it. Some aspects of the OI rubbed me a little wrong. Namely, the biggest was that if you had a few good matches early on, you could technically win this big 16-player tournament by only playing 5 other players, or if one of your opponents made it through the loser's bracket into the finals. That didn't feel like the right way to handle this big end-of-season event. The easiest answer would have been to have all players do a round robin. That's also kind of boring.
Right. And there was also the fact that we wanted to retain the element of elimination because of the fact that that adds drama. So we are in a bit of a weird situation there where it's like, okay, we want everybody to play more games so that way, more action going on, and you got to work harder to actually win the thing. Not saying that Brett hasn't worked hard twice to win the OI, but...
Yeah, this isn't commentary on how any particular person did or anything like that. This is just on the concept itself.
So, we're trying to figure out, how do we balance the two things, and then Ozzy shows up and, guides the light there.
Yeah, him and I were chatting one night, and I was thinking of StarCraft. Because this is very similar to the format they do in StarCraft. And I kind of was throwing it at Ozzy, and through discussion with him, and then later a little bit with Naga, we really refined it. And I'm happy with how things are now.
Okay, before we continue, I have to say one thing. Nerd!
Yes.
And
So,
anyway, StarCraft.
Anyway, so what are the changes that are coming? Well, let's just get the big one out of the way. It is now going to be 10 players. Now, full disclosure, this is partially a reaction to the general tournament player base right now. 16 players, admittedly, while it's a nice number for brackets and stuff like that, it was less inviting the best of the best at some point and more just inviting everybody that played that season. We want the OI to feel like a really top-tier premier event.
I think the point of the OI being an invitational is that it's something you strive for. It's in the name, right? The Omega Invitational. It's not the Omega Open. All our other events are open to everyone, regardless of skill, time, dedication. But this one event should be earned.
So, during the Season 2 OI, we plugged Brett in as the number 1 seed since he won the previous season. That is not going to be returning. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense in retrospect. So, the Chiefs are not going to get an auto invite to this year's playoffs just because they won the Super Bowl last year.
I feel that this is one of the more controversial changes, especially because it can feel like it's targeting just one person. So I want to address this a little further. With only 10 players in the event, automatically seeding someone in or giving them any kind of advantage at the season start would knock someone else out who tried hard to get into the top 10. Each season should start on an even playing ground.
Exactly. So that's a thing. And now in terms
at the moment, it's like looking at it now, it's going to be 10 players. But if our player base expands, we can expand this down the road as well to 12 or 16.
Yeah. That's the perfect
Exactly.
segue, because into talking about how the tournament will be structured. We'll invite the 10 players, and they will be split into 2 groups, odd seeds and even seeds. Each group will have a full round robin amongst themselves, and the top 2 from each group will advance into the next round.
But this is where the fun begins, because in going into round 2, those top 2 from each group, the collective top 4, are allowed to modify their sideboards at that point. Now, this is going to seem like a very bizarre change. Why would we be allowing such a thing like that? Well, it boils down to the fact that we don't want certain matchups to just automatically be a blowout. So as a reward for making it through that initial gauntlet, you get to modify your sideboard to bring in some additional text to try to help level the playing field, give everybody a shot at that title, and also makes for more watchable games more frequently. So, round 2, top 2 from each group. How the matchups are going to work. The number 1 seed from the even group plays the number 2 seed from the odd group, and then odds 1 seed plays the evens 2 seed. The winners of those will advance to the grand finals, which, as always, will be a best of 5. Now, I can't remember, Zero, are the semifinals going to be best of 5 as well?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to be sure. I thought I read that somewhere, but yeah. So the round robins are all best 2 out of 3s. The top 4 and the finals are going to be best 3 out of 5 because, let's be real, best 3 out of 5s are really good for testing people's endurance in matches, which, again, you saw that on full display if you watched the winners finals especially. I keep going back to my own trauma. Why do I do this?
Also, the round robin structure of the round 1 makes it a lot easier being an international kind of group that are playing this to schedule a match. Like, okay, it's midnight in the US. I probably can't hook up with that person today, but you know, it's not as late in the UK. I wonder if they're still around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so,
in order to win this, you'll have to have beaten 6 to 7 of the 10 players in the tournament.
Exactly. You want to be the best, you got to take down the rest of the people pining for that title as well, or at least a good majority of them. So, again, this is what we have come up with to kind of, again, balance everything. We want the drama of eliminations. We want a bunch of matchups. We want people's mental resilience to be tested, playing game after game after game and, trying to navigate everything. And we feel this is a good catch-all solution for everything that can expand as necessary should the player base continue to grow.
There's some other things that helps as well, like so if we're going back to OI1, I hate to bring this up, Zero. You played against 2 decks which had lose the initiative in their main deck, I think.
Yeah.
And it was probably the only 2 out of that 16 that had that, and you were playing Mirage, and you were out in 2 rounds.
Yeah.
But the rest of the whole tournament, they didn't have lose the initiative. So yeah, it gives something like that a deck where there's a hard counter to it. And if you come across 2 decks that have that, then you're out. Instead, you get to play like 4 games in your first round robin.
Absolutely. There's one more benefit to this I want to mention. With the previous bracket system, it was possible to have a number of rematches as people work their way through the loser's bracket. With this structure, only 1 rematch is possible, and even then, it'll be with the new sideboards.
Exactly. So at least there is at least a meaningful point of differentiation there.
Yeah.
So.
All right. As for next week's episode, we don't have a very strict plan in mind. I will say there could be some spoilers coming, but because we don't have a calendar set up for them, I don't want to promise something. But at the very least, we'll talk about the current Encounter 1 happenings.
And also, maybe I might try to recite War of the Worlds in Bludgeon's voice. Maybe.
I don't think you'll do that.
Yeah, no, I won't. I just wanted to say something stupid there. So, but yeah, as always, if you have any other comments or feedback you want to leave, there is an anonymous form for that at Transformers.cards/AliveOdd1, or drop them in the comments as well. We read through those, so if you got a hot take you want us to discuss, by all means, send it our way.
Short episode today because I just got home a few hours ago from a week of traveling, but we really wanted to get together and discuss the upcoming season and the new OI structure. Ozzy, thank you for coming on and chatting with us on such short notice.
I appreciate the invite.
All right.
See y'all in a month for turkey season, I guess? I don't know.
Sure, that works. Alrighty then. Until next time, toodles.
See ya.